Jason introduced me, I'm Shippensburg, and earlier this week when I told my wife that I'd be driving 6 hours to come speak with you this evening, she said, "Justin, you're nuts." And I looked at her and I said, "Honey, I am a nut, singular." Sack up, folks, the puns don't stop here. My name's Shippensburg, and 5 years ago I was a student here, and I was probably in this area around this time. I remember working out down the road at Shipwreck, going to classes up there for my education classes at Shipping Hall, and going to the WIBs on the weekend frequently. Between you and I probably don't remember that one just as much. Well, that's where I was 5 years ago. 1 year ago, exactly today, I was sitting in my urologist's office. I know, I'm only 26 years old and I already have a urologist. That visit was a follow-up to this surgery that I had had on October 28th. Interestingly enough, on October 28th, I was supposed to be on my way up here to Shippensburg for homecoming. I was supposed to be having a ball. If you can't tell where I'm going with this, I ended up losing a ball. A week after that surgery, it was confirmed it was testicular cancer, and not only that, it had spread to my lymph nodes. I also learned that day that lymph nodes aren't exclusively in your neck. I also realized because it had spread to my lymph nodes, I was going to need chemotherapy. Of course, hearing that you need chemotherapy, I had a million questions, so I did what any self-respecting millennial would do, and I took to the internet to look for answers. What I wanted was a patient-friendly resource for someone who was diagnosed with testicular cancer and written from the perspective of someone in their 20s. But a lot of the things I found were medical and clinical talk. The discovery or lack thereof spurred me into action. Since my life had thrown me a curveball, and I knew that I wasn't the only one with testicular cancer who would want such a resource, I decided to begin writing my own story with the goal to create the resource that I wanted to have for myself. If you haven't gathered by this point, I enjoy a good pun, so I called my site A Ballsy Sense of Tumor. However, the mission broadened when I started researching some statistics to back up what I was saying on the website. When I first discovered my lump during a routine self-exam in the shower, I was hesitant to go to the doctor. I found that I wasn't alone in that, and that over 61% of men will only go to the doctor when the pain becomes unbearable, which can be too late. That number shocked me, but again, it didn't really surprise me. I'm a guy and I know I don't like to talk about many things. I stand in front of you talking about balls. I knew that I wanted one of ABSOG's primary goals to change the narrative about how men talk about their health, especially their testicular health. I wondered what barriers stood in the way of men talking about their testicular health, so I reached out to some of my male friends. Specifically, 2 texts you see here are from my fellow Shippensburg graduates, John and Brett, to hear their take. While a lot of them were very receptive to talking about their testicular health, some of them had excuses. In my opinion, excuses are just like balls. Most people have twice as many as they need. Like I said, the jokes don't stop. Jokes. Now that I have exactly as many testicles as I need, I have no time for excuses. Here are some of my rebuttals to common excuses I've heard over the past years for avoiding your monthly self-check. Number 1 is that I just simply didn't know that I was supposed to. Well, guess what? You're here at the right place at the right time. Consider that myth busted, or in my opinion, ball busted. And you need to be doing your self-check. 1 in every 250 men will develop testicular cancer at some point in their life. Luckily, Jason, Bruce, and I took one for the team for about 750 men. Technically, I guess our surgeons took the one from us. That joke landed good. Following that, I don't know how to do a self-exam. The one text, I had to explain it via text to my friend. And you're not alone. According to the Testicular Cancer Society, only 42% of men know how to do a testicular self-exam. meaning 58%, over half, have no idea how to do it correctly. Luckily, again, you're here tonight, and my hope is that you will take what you learned tonight, take it back to your friends, and share the word. Another excuse I often hear is that I often get checked once a year at the doctor. There's a couple of points that I want to make here. Number one, that's not necessarily true. Only 3 in 5 men actually attend their annual physical. And the other thing that I would like to point out, my annual physical is in July, which is my birthday. I discovered my lump in October. Imagine where I would be if I would have waited all those months until my annual exam. Testicular cancer is very treatable in early stages, but it's also very aggressive. Don't wait, do it monthly. You may also think that cancer is for older people. My grandfather passed away from cancer a couple years ago, and I pretty much predominantly thought of cancer as an old person thing. And that's not true. 15 to 35 is the common age for testicular cancer patients, with over 50% of all cases occurring in that age range, which is all of us in this room today. We need to make sure that we're talking about it, because cancer can strike anyone at any age. Imagine where I would be if I had dropped the ball and I didn't check. By this point, you may be getting a little testy with me and my jokes. And you're thinking, Justin, you have a lot of points, but I will notice if something is wrong. That's not necessarily true. While Bruce shared that he had some other symptoms, I had no other symptoms other than feeling that lump. I had completed a Spark run, slightly slower than I would have liked, a couple weeks prior, and I had been running slightly less than I would have liked in the morning, but otherwise, I was pretty healthy. I didn't know anything was wrong until I felt that lump. Cancer doesn't always bring the pain like an 8 a.m. class might. And I understand, you guys are college students and you might say, I don't have the time. Between student teaching, having a social life, probably pouring too much time into that social life and classwork, I felt like I didn't have time in school either. But realistically, doing a self-check takes only about 1 minute in the shower. In my case, it only takes me 30 seconds now. Going back to talking about WIBS, one of my favorite events before I went to WIBS was a power hour, where you imbibe every minute on the minute. So here's what I propose. At some point in that power hour, skip the drink, do a self-check. I will put this disclaimer, please do not do it in the middle of a frat house. And finally, I hear a lot that doing a self-check is uncomfortable. But let's face it, college is all about being uncomfortable. The dorm beds aren't always the nicest, and the Sunday morning wake-ups aren't always great. And let's also get real here. Your junk is probably being handled numerous times throughout college. Let's make this one count. As a final point, while the actual act of the self-check may be perceived as uncomfortable, people feel even more uncomfortable about just talking about their men's health. It's not just a male problem, although I found in one of the studies that I cited earlier that 53% of men won't talk about their health regularly. Testicular cancer isn't pretty in pink, but it is very important. Even though I'm healthy and in remission, I continue to share my journey, and my goal with running outside remains to get people to have regular conversations about their testicular health. Many of you just shaved your beards today. Use it to spark the conversations. By Thanksgiving, you should have an unruly mess. Nothing brings a family together over the dinner table than talking about balls. We must dispel the stigma by talking about it openly like we are today. So today, I ask you to carpe diem, or in my opinion, carpe scrotum. Grab a buddy by his shoulder and tell him how important it is. Tell your sisters to tell their boyfriends. I leave you sun don't shine. Thank you.